What's up, y'all? We're looking at section 5.3, slope-intercept form. This form is actually one of the most useful forms because when we're dealing with our TI calculators, which you will a lot in your later math classes, you will find one of those to use a lot for those, especially when you get into pre-cal. It's y equals, so if you're graphing equations on here, you have to even know what's in there. You have to always start with y equals, so dealing with equations start like that are really important. So a couple things here. M is the slope. Let me use a different color for what I'm writing now. M is the slope and B is the y-intercept. Okay, so that slope, that rise over run, the y's over the x's, change in y over change in x. B is the y-intercept. And basically the y-intercept is where the line hits the y-axis. So if I have a line, that point right there, that is the y-intercept. That's where it hits the y-axis. The line also hits the x-axis somewhere usually, but I don't care about that for this particular form. I only need the y-intercept here. So the slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, m is the slope, and b is the y-intercept. And a problem that us math teachers just love to ask is to find the slope-intercept form for a couple of points. So I'm going to scooch this up. And I went ahead and wrote out some instructions here. So the question says, find slope-intercept form for a line going through these 2 points. So if you could draw those 2 points and draw the line through them, I want to know slope-intercept form for that line. There are a few steps that will outline what we need to do here. First, we need to find the slope. So find the slope of the line first. That's y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2, rise over run. Next, we're going to use one of the points, so we're going to use either 3, 7 or -2, -1. I'm going to plug all that into our equation, and with that, we're going to solve for the value of b. And finally, be sure to write your answer out. If you solve for m and b, but don't actually write it out in slope-intercept form, that's a huge waste of your time. So make sure that you actually write out your answer. Okay, so first find the slope, then use a point and plug it in. Next, solve for b. And then write your answer. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this now. So the first thing to do is find the slope. And for the slope, it's 7 minus -1 over 3 minus -2. Okay, both of those minus and negatives become plus, so that becomes 8/5. So the slope is 8/5. Good so far. Okay, use a point and plug it in. So I'm going to write out my form, y equals x plus b. For m, I'm going to put 8/5. Let me scooch my paper up. For m, I'm going to put 8/5. For y and x, what point do I want to use? You could use either point. I'm going to use the point 3, 7. So 3 is going to go in for x, 7 is going to go in for y. And then plus b. Now I can solve this for b. Let me multiply this first. 7 equals 24/5 plus b. Let me multiply everything by 5 to clean that up a little bit. Something to do with the fraction, times 5, times everything by 5. So 35 is equal to, the 5's cancel out there, 24 plus 5b. Okay, minus the 24. Scooch it up a little bit. Minus the 24, that's going to be 11. Yes. So 11 equals 5b. So b is 11/5. Okay, and I skipped some steps there. Please forgive me. We are almost beyond that point. So I know what m and b are. Last step, be sure you write your answer out. Slope-intercept form is y equals m x plus b. There we go. So find the slope, plug in the slope in one of your points, solve for b. If you use the other point, if I would have used, let me scooch this up a little bit. If I would have used, where'd it go? All the way up here, goodness. If I would have used -2, -1 for x and y, I would have gotten the same stinking answer. That doesn't matter which one you use. So if you wanted to use that instead, that's fine. I just preferred the positive numbers because in my mind I thought that would work out better. Maybe it didn't. So there's that. One last thing, graphing with slope-intercept form. I know you've seen this before, because I just taught this to the other class, and they were like, duh, we know that. So you've certainly seen this. Let me refresh your memory. So you start with the y-intercept. Let's put a point at -2. And then the slope is over 1, so up 3 and over 1. Up 3 and over 1. There's another point. And for a line, you just need 2 points. If it was a curve, we might need to be more particular, and we will be when we do those kinds. Actually, when you're in your other classes, and you do those kinds of things. So there's the line. Start with the -2, and then up 3 and over 1 for the slope, and 2 points for that line. That's all you need. And you can work backwards from here as well. If I just gave you this graph, let me cover this up. If I just gave you this graph, you'd be like, well, the y-intercept is -2, so it's going to be -2 at the end. And then the slope is up 3 and over 1. So the slope is 3 over 1. So y equals 3 over 1x minus 2. So you can work that backwards, and a couple of the problems will ask you to do that. So just keep that in mind. If you're looking at a graph, you're like, oh, that's how you do it. Just work it backwards. Where's my y-intercept? What's my slope? Okay, scooch this up a little bit. Please try the lesson check on page 309.